you tweeted this thing about George Soros. You said he wants to erode the very fabric of civilization, and Soros hates humanity. Like, when you do something like that, do you
I think that's true. That's my opinion.
Okay, but why share it?
Offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
There is no hiding that I'm a huge Elon Musk dick rider that thinks he's one of the greatest men who has ever lived. His ability to focus on the important fundamentals instead of getting lost in irrelevant details is something that I highly admire and I wish more people would aspire for. Even though I think Elon is great, I think he just made one of the worst business decisions of his entire career. And yes, it's worse than building the Tesla Roadster on the Lotus Elise chassis. It's worse than the Falcon Wing doors on the Model X. And it's worse than making the Model 3 chassis out of multiple small stampings. It's on par with the stupidity of GM building the Hummer EV. The business decision I'm talking about is to hire Linda Jaccarino as the CEO of Twitter. And this might very well damage the Bird app beyond repair. But why am I so skeptical of her? She seems like a nice lady with lots of ideas, connections, and drive. Her social skills would be a great complement to Elon's technical skills, and her experience will surely help bring advertisers to Twitter, which they need to make money. So what's the problem? The problem is the philosophical disconnect between Elon Musk's view on freedom of speech and Linda's view of not speaking your mind in order to keep the advertisers happy. And this all gets highlighted in the interview she did with him in front of advertisers.
In order for civilization to advance, we've got to have freedom of speech. We've got to have a digital, So, thank you. It's a bigger deal than you'd think. And it's the kind of thing that you don't know what you're missing until you don't have it. And in a lot of places, people don't have it. So it's important to bear in mind that the acid test for it is, are people you don't like allowed to say things that you don't like? Otherwise, it's not free. It can't be just things that you like, because eventually, somebody's not going to like what you say, and they're going to shut you up. And that's the essence of free speech, and that's why it's the First Amendment in this country. And if we lose that, I think we lose the bedrock of democracy.
And I could speak on behalf of the industry, but I'll speak on behalf of my own company. We have a big partnership with your company, big distribution partnership. Are there days where I see some of your tweets and I say, I wish I could say, stop helping the situation? Should you be held to a different or a higher standard that you're the owner, but you also have the most followers, and a lot of people think you might be too provocative? In the middle should be advertising opportunity. That sounds like a great opportunity. I can talk about my brand, I can get my customers to communicate, and then they could also buy stuff. But they need to feel that there is an opportunity for them to influence what you're building, that vision. What we're doing here, whether it's me trying to push and prod you on your tweets. For example, you've said you probably shouldn't tweet after 3 a.m.
Well, I've got myself
Probably good advice for all of us.
I've gotten myself into trouble a few times.
I'm very aware of those. So after 3 a.m., will you commit to be a little more specific and not tweet after 3 a.m.? People in this room would like to see that. It'll make them feel more confident.
I will aspire to tweet less after 3 a.m. But I mean, it is important that, if I were to say, yes, you can influence me, that would be wrong. That would be very wrong. Because that would be a diminishment of freedom of speech.
But I want to be specific about influencing. It's more of an open feedback loop for the advertising experts in this room to help develop Twitter into a place where they will be excited about investing more money. Product development, ad safety, content moderation.
Content moderation.
That's what the influence is.
Yeah, I think it's totally cool to say that you want to have your advertising appear in certain places in Twitter and not in other places. But it is not cool to try to say what Twitter will do. And if that means losing advertising dollars, we lose it. But freedom of speech is paramount.
So, Twitter 1.0 had a very well-populated, much-loved influence council.
Influence Council.
I think we need to change the name. Elon does not want to be influenced. But it was really a recurring feedback loop from your key stakeholders, your advertisers, where they had recurring access or would have recurring access to you. Would you commit from this stage today to reinstate that council to be named later?
Well, I don't think it should be influence council. I would be wary of that creating a backlash among the public, because if the public thinks that their views are being determined by a small number of CMOs in America, they will be like, I think, upset about that.
And you got a man who's committed to try his best not to tweet after 3 a.m.
Try his best not to tweet after 3 a.m.
Can you see the disconnect? The edge Twitter has over the all tech sites, such as YouTube and Facebook, is that they have less political censorship. This is the foundation it would grow on. This is also the only ethical way of growing a social media platform, assuming Elon's goals are to save humanity. But Linda doesn't seem to value this at all, and would rather appease the advertisers for a short-term profit and the comfort of not pissing off her friends when uncomfortable truths gets debated on Twitter. I also assume she will be in charge of the hiring process, and this is what she had to say about that.
So what immediately started happening was that under the leadership of Brian Roberts and Jeff Shell, Comcast set up a fund to the value of $100 million to fight social justice and equality. Like Cesar Conde, our new chairman of news, who made a public statement that was confronting editorial bias and saying, my division, our news division, the biggest news division in the country, is going to be 50% women and 50% people of color. Ambitious goal? Yes, no doubt about it. And I'm happy to say there's many, many other examples of progress at our company, divisions like mine, working with Ad Color and T. Howard Foundation.
So instead of hiring the most qualified person for the job, she preferred to hire the person with the right gender and skin color. Isn't this racism? So what happens when you don't hire the best people and discriminate on gender and skin color? You get a mediocre company, just like all Twitter under Osama bin Laden. And this is a huge contrast to Tesla and SpaceX, where the best engineers in the world work. The reason diversity is pushed so hard is that it aligns with the cultural Marxists and globalists' agenda. Speaking of which, Linda was even the chair of the World Economic Forum Task Force for Future Work and worked for the Biden administration to make propaganda to get people to take the gene therapy. Elon himself has expressed his dislike for the World Economic Forum. So here's another example of where their philosophy misaligns. Thus, hiring Linda as a CEO of Twitter would be like hiring a flat earther as the CEO of SpaceX, or making an Amish person the CEO of Neuralink because he's good at taking care of pigs, or making a hydrogen fuel cell grifter the CEO of Tesla because he's good at selling products that doesn't exist. The philosophy of the CEO doesn't align with the company vision. But here I just criticize Linda. I can see the reason Elon hired her is that he wants her to bring the advertisers back. But I also think that this is a poor decision. The solution is not to pander to the advertisers. The solution is to break the mainstream media's hate campaigns against free speech, which actually causes the backlash against the brands in the first place. And Twitter is already doing this with community notes, less censorship, and by growing its user base, which takes eyes off the legacy media. The stance Twitter should have is not to cuck for the advertisers, but rather make their service so good that the advertisers cannot say no. Ways of doing this with dignity is to make it possible for creators to earn money by sending people to great products via affiliate links in a similar way as Amazon does. Or have Tesla run ads on Twitter, or even have Twitter sell some products themselves, like a clone of Amazon. For Matt Walsh's movie, What is a Woman? Twitter didn't run any ads around it. The solution for this is to make it possible for companies that support free speech to advertise at a discount on content that is deemed to be edgy. This would be a win-win because companies with the right values would get promoted, Matt Walsh would get some money, and it would incentivize big companies to support free speech. My tip to Elon if he decides to follow through with Linda in the long run is that he has to be the alpha in this relationship. In the interview, he clearly showed her he didn't give a shit about her views on how to appease the advertisers. And if he can uphold this frame that he is cooler than the advertisers, the woman will drop her political ideas and try to please his vision of Twitter. But if Elon slips up and shows weakness and Linda starts to think that Klaus Schwab, the FBI, BlackRock or even the pedophiles in DC are the actual alphas, she will fall back to her woke ideals, and this will spell a disaster for Twitter. The reason females tend to be more cautious about what other people think of them is due to evolutionary psychology reasons. Since a woman gets incapacitated and vulnerable when she gets pregnant, making sure that the tribe likes her is crucial for her survival. Thus, women feel a much stronger urge than men to not rock the boat. However, if the man she chooses to follow has enough frame, she will abandon all her principles in order to please him, because a strong frame means that it can make the tribe help her. So yeah, I'm not optimistic, but I will give Linda a chance. If she starts to ban people, the right action to take is to start to funnel people to other platforms. Just like in the free market, where consumers try to find the lowest prices, so that the businesses are forced to find ways to lower them, people should migrate to social media platforms with the least amount of censorship. This will force them to compete with each other over who can have the freest site. This is already happening with YouTube now allowing to question the 2020 election results, Instagram unbanning RFK Jr. on their platform, and the Rumble takeover who gave a streaming contract to Leafy. The competition for free speech has started, and this is a very good thing. This is why I urge you to follow me on Twitter, because Twitter is at the moment much freer than YouTube. So follow me there, link in the description. But also, subscribe here as well on YouTube, so that they will recommend this video to more people, which will allow us to funnel even more of them to freer sites.